So, welcome, Divine Ones, and welcome to another episode of Self Love Your Way There. Today is really the day right before New Year's Eve. And so, this is a time that has a lot of energy around it, around the world. And the energy is mostly around people releasing things and really looking forward, like projecting and making intentions, particularly making resolutions, what they want for the year, what they want for this next new year. We're getting ready to enter into 2022, and which is a very divine year, by the way. Just a repeating twos in the number is a very divine, synchronistic number. So I think personally, I feel like 2022 is going to be quite a revolutionary year, quite a radical year for many people, me included. I think we're going to see some very radical and revolutionary things happening around the globe. But to bring that in personally, I think where we're setting our intentions, we've had, these last few years with this pandemic has been something. And so I know a lot of people are really swirling in their minds around this time, thinking about what they want for themselves around their wellness, what they want for themselves around their well-being, what they want for themselves around their healing, what they want for themselves around their transformation. And so people are really around this time really busy making resolution lists. And I'm no different. I use this time every year. It's very ritual time for me. So I do a lot of rituals where I look at, what went well for me in this past year, where my challenges were, what I wanted to release, and kind of what I want to step into in the new year. But since I my near-death experience in 2005, New Year's Eve has been different for me. And one, because my near-death experience actually happened on New Year's Eve. That is really when it happened. So this is kind of an anniversary for me. But also before that experience, I've always treasured New Year's. New Year's was probably my favorite holiday. I was a heavy partier on New Year's Eve. I always went out, but I also did rituals. I went to spiritual centers and did rituals of releasing. I did rituals of praying and meditation. I always set the energy in space. I used to clean my house. My elders used to say, if your house is dirty, you're carrying the old energy of the old year into the new year. So one of the things I would always do is clean my house on New Year's Eve, wash the dishes, take out the trash. I had a lot of rituals that I would do around this time. But since my near-death experience, where Source told me that the key to true healing and to really manifesting a life that you love is to love yourself, my resolutions changed. They changed from, I want to lose weight, or, I want to be in a relationship, or I want to make more money, or I want to do those things. And while those things are, I'm not poo-pooing those type of intentions or dreams or goals. But what I have discovered in the journey after my near-death experience is really there's only one real resolution you really need to make. And why I say you really need to make is because there's only one thing that will really transform your life, that will heal your life, and that will raise your frequency to a level where you're manifesting your dreams on a very consistent and miraculous level, where you're literally receiving the good that is yours to receive. And you're literally receiving a life that feels very delicious to you. And there's only one resolution. Like, of all the things out there, and I've tried many, and I've worked with many people around the world that have done many. I've done many different programs. I've even taught many different programs in the past. And what I've really discovered is there's really one thing. If you're going to make any type of resolution at all, just make this one and watch. Watch what happens. If you make this resolution and you are committed to this resolution, watch what happens in your life. Watch what happens in your body. Watch what happens with your finances. Watch what happens in your relationships. Watch what happens in your state of peace and connection to yourself. Watch what happens in your connection with the divine, like your guides or your ancestors or your loved ones on the other side. Watch what happens when you make this particular resolution and you stick to it and you literally work through it in the year, your life a year from now will be drastically different. It will be drastic. It will almost be sometimes unrecognizable to you. Like you will look back a year from now after having made this resolution, and you will see that your life is unrecognizable. Like it is so different. In just a year's time, you feel different. You may even look different. You move through the world different. You vibrate differently. You attract differently, just from this one resolution. And I'm not kidding. I'm not making up. I mean, we hear all this stuff, you should make a resolution to wake up early in the morning because that's going to change your life, or you should make a resolution to stop eating sugar, or you should make a resolution to, speak to your kids every day, or whatever. We have all these different external opinions about what we should be doing. But I want to invite us to go internally, like to listen to the inner authority, which is your soul, and really connect there for your resolution. And so without further ado, without stringing you along and making this, some of those things that they talk for 25, 30 minutes about what the thing is before they actually tell you what the thing is. And then at the end, they tell you the thing and it's like, it's over. I'm not going to do that to you. I'm going to talk about this because I want to share with you what it is and why it will have such an effect of what I just shared. So the one resolution that I would highly recommend, it's the only resolution I've been making for the past few years, is to love yourself more. Is to love yourself more. I know you're probably saying, surprise, surprise. Jerome, who's the teacher of self-love, says to love yourself more. Well, yeah, but not just in a kitschy, stereotypical very way. I mean this very seriously. When you love yourself more, you are going to open your life to a level of transformation, a level of healing, and a level of manifestation that is beyond what you can possibly imagine right now. And why that is because, one, love is the energy of your soul. It is the energy of source. It is the frequency of it. And so when to love ourselves is to embody more of the frequency of our soul, to embody more of the frequency of source, to do things and to think thoughts, elicit behaviors, and feel feelings that allow you to embody the frequency of love. That's the practice of love. And so self-love. And why this is so important, why this is so transformative, is because love frequency is why it's healing is because love frequency is your wholeness, and wholeness is wellness. Love frequency is your wholeness. And the process of healing is to restore yourself to a state of wholeness. So to be said in another way, the process of healing is to restore yourself to a state of love energy, where you are vibrating and embodying the frequency of love. When you do that, you will find that a lot of the things that the more and more you do that, the more you'll find that the things that are ailments that you're having in your body just seem to heal themselves almost on their own. Or all of a sudden, the more you do that, the more you begin to get insights about what to do to enhance your body's health and wellness. It transforms your life because the more you begin to love yourself, the more you begin to be a friend to yourself. You don't let people walk over you. You begin to have your boundaries honored. You begin to do what nourishes and feeds and supports you. You move through the world feeling good. And that's an important piece, because everybody's thinking about, they do the vision boards and they do all these manifestation tools at the beginning of the year. And while, I even used to be a teacher of vision boards, I don't teach them as much anymore, because you can do all this, you can do these vision board things. You can cut the pictures out of the magazine, you can place the vision board up, you can look at it. But if you're not doing work to heal your frequency and to raise your frequency to the state of love, then all those things that you want on that vision board number one, they can't come to you. You won't receive them. Not because the universe doesn't give them to you, but because you're not home. The universe only ever sends your good. And I'll be talking about this in a future episode in great detail, but the universe only ever sends your good to your home address. So the things that you want, the good that you put on that vision board, is being sent by the universe to your home address. Your home address is love. So when you're not home, you can't receive that stuff on that vision board. That's why a lot of people make these vision boards and they say they don't work, and they have these vision boards for years and years and years, and nothing manifests from that, because you've not done the work to come home. Like, just come home first and watch what's already waiting for you at the door. That's my practice. Like, the vision board is great. The universe already knows what you want, by the way. You don't even have to put it on the vision board. The universe has heard your conversations, it's felt your energy, it's felt your longings, it's felt your yearnings, and it's answered them, and it's sent them to your home address. The only reason why you're not seeing them is because you're not home. And so the moment you actually do the work of coming home, all this stuff just seems to fall to the door. Stuff you even forgot you even wanted. So loving yourself helps you come home. That's number one. Number two, a lot of times the things you ask for on those vision boards is actually stuff you're asking from wounds. We're asking from a state of being disconnected from ourselves. And we're thinking that that's what we really want. And when you begin to love yourself and you begin to be connected to yourself, you begin to be filled and fulfilled with the energy of love frequency, you start to want different things. You start to realize, oh, wow, I thought I wanted that. And I'm so glad I didn't get that, because that would have been a disaster for me. That's not actually what I really want. That's not actually what fulfills me. The more you love yourself, the more clear you get on what actually fulfills you, what actually nourishes you, what actually feeds you, what actually expands you and makes you happy and makes you feel alive and makes you feel the most like yourself. And so a lot of times when we're making these vision boards, the things you're actually putting up on there are things that are not actually going to make you feel like yourself. You think they are, because you're not in your natural home frequency. And when you're not in your natural home frequency, the things you want for yourself actually cause you to be more disconnected a lot of times than to be more connected. So that's one reason why you want to do the work of self-love first, because you become home, and it raises your frequency to the level of receiving. This is why I say self-love is the real secret, which is also going to be something you'll be hearing a lot about in the new year. But it raises your frequency to the level of receiving, so you receive the good that you want. The other reason for this is because self-love, brings you into your wholeness. And the more you become whole, the more you're a whole being, the healthier your body will become. Because your body was made to run off of the fuel of love. It was made to run off the frequency of love. And so when we experience illness, it's really a signal that we're low on the frequency of love. We're either disconnected from it or we're malnourished of it. And so this is why loving yourself is really the only real resolution you want to make, is I want to love myself more in the new year. Like, that is my resolution. I want to love myself more in the new year. That's what I want to do. I want to love myself more than I did in 2021. In 2022, I want to have a deeper relationship with love than I had before. And I want to, from myself and from life itself, I want to receive love from myself and receive it from life itself. Now, some of you all are here and you're like, okay, Jerome, great. I'm with you. I'm hearing this. I'm with you. So what does that even look like? Like, how do I even begin that process? So I want to walk you through a few things that I do when I'm looking at how am I going to love myself more in this coming year? So I've learned that there are really kind of 5 pillars of self-love. There are kind of 5 core pillars that make up the practice of self-love. And so I'm going to walk through these and talk to you about kind of what my plans are for how I'm going to love myself more, and hoping that as I talk about this and share this with you a little bit, you can get some insight on how you want to do this for your own self. So the first one is kind of the foundational pillar, if you will, is to cherish yourself. To really look at yourself to view yourself and treat yourself with unconditional positive regard, to adore yourself, right? And I do really well with that when it comes to my personality. And I really cherish aspects of my personality. I feel really good about them. And I really do well in my intellect. You know, I cherish my talents and my mind and my psyche. But where I have been challenged in the past, if you've been following me, you know, I've talked a lot about this, but where I've been challenged in the past and where I've continued to try and strengthen is really cherishing my body, like cherishing it, adoring it as it is, not just when it loses weight or when it gains muscle or when it's, you know, looking like I want it to or when it's not. Like, can I be my body's best friend like it's been to me? Right. And so some things I did this past year that I love myself more than I had the year before was, you know, I kept a journal and wrote in it. And I would write things that I was grateful for about my body and that I really loved and celebrated about my body and that I found beautiful about my body. And that experience just amplified how much I just cherish and honor and appreciate this glorious body that my soul has created to live in, right? And I feel good about it. Cherishing ourselves is a part of self-love because it makes us feel, it helps us feel worthy, which is a vibration of love, by the way. Worthiness and love are each other. They're the same thing. So love is a multi-vibrational energy, meaning it has many vibrations that make it up. Worthiness is one of the vibrations. And so when we cherish ourselves, we feel worthy, right? We feel like worthy, we feel valuable, we feel appreciable, we feel celebrated, we feel accepted. And so my thing is I want to cherish my body more in 2020, even more than I did in 2021. And so one thing I want to do is I want to be consistent in that journal. I'm writing it every day. I did not write in it every day last year. I also want to take more pictures of my body. Like if you've been following me a little bit, I've been showing a little bit more of my chest and my abs and things like that. And that was something I used to never do when I didn't cherish my body. I really was afraid of the camera and I shied away from that. And so I want to take more pictures and more selfies and share them publicly because that's a way of me cherishing myself. So I want to do that more in 2022. So those are two things that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be really committing to a journal where I just shed love on my body every day and thank it. Even if it's just me waking up in the morning and saying, thank you, body, for another day of life and for another day of operating and serving me and being my best friend. I want to return the favor today, right? And I just want to look on you with love. I don't want to look on you with rejection. I don't want to look on you with shame. I don't want to look on you with criticism and judgment or always trying to edit or change or improve you. I want to accept you and see the beauty of you as you are right in this moment. And I'm going to keep a journal to help me do that. And I'm going to take pictures of you. Even if I don't get the six pack, you know, that I wanted, if it doesn't happen as quickly as I want, or if it's not happening right now, or, you know, whatever that is, if I have changes that I want to make, but I'm not going to need those changes to feel good about my body. If the changes never come, I will still feel good about this body. That's how I'm going to love myself more in that area of cherishing myself. The second thing is trusting myself, right? Trusting myself, trusting my soul, trusting my intuition, trusting my guides, trusting life. You know, can I trust? And trust centers us in peace, which is another vibration of love, right? The more we trust, the more at peace and the more safe we feel. And I want to follow my inner guidance and my inner nudges when they occur. I really did a good job at that this past year, but there were some other things that, you know, it took me a while, you know, to listen to. And I want to listen to it sooner. I want to listen to it and follow and trust the guidance sooner, and not need so much time to pass before I do so, or not need some type of knock upside my head to do so. Um, I want to trust in a deeper way. I've trust is a high aspect of being an intuitive or a psychic or a shaman or a healer. And so I've been working with trust for many years, and I've developed a deeper trust, but I want to go even deeper, because here's what happens when we trust. Oh, by the way, here's what happens when you cherish yourself. When you begin to cherish yourself more, you raise your frequency to worthiness. And the more worthy you feel, the better things you begin to attract for yourself, the more life proves like really bent over backwards to prove to you your worthiness. Like strangers will come in and affirm your worthiness. The type of opportunities that you get will affirm to you how worthy you are and confirm that you're worthy. The type of things that get drawn into your life will be a mirror of your worthiness. So it's not just that you get to feel good about yourself. That is the core benefit. But there are also residual benefits. And the residual benefits are you attract better to you, you manifest better, and your life becomes a reflection that you are indeed worthy, you are indeed enough, you are indeed lovable as you are. What happens when you trust is the more you begin to listen to your inner guidance, the more you begin to trust life, especially that life loves you. This was something that greatly enhanced for me in 2021, was I began to trust in a way beyond what I had before, that life loves me. That life loves me, that I don't have to try and make it love me, that it already loves me, and I just have to receive its love. My. At some point, I'm gonna have to write a book about the transformation and the miracles and the magic that I saw in my life, just from working with that, just from that shift in my consciousness of life loves me. I began to experience a level of safety in my life that is beyond what I could explain in words. I began to feel loved. Like I felt so loved and so held by life itself, and life began to bend over and prove it. So this is another thing about trust. When you trust something, when you fully give it your trust, not just halfway give it trust, but like you fully trust it, that thing must prove itself trustworthy. This is how the law of attraction and the law of the universe works. When you trust something, that thing must prove itself trustworthy to you. But the thing is, we think, oh, I'll trust it once it proves itself trustworthy. And that's not actually how this works. You have to trust first, and then it reflects your trust back to you. So I want to trust life even more. And I want to listen to my intuition and trust that even more this year, in this coming year. And the more you trust, the safer of a life experience you begin to have. And the more life will just bend over backwards to prove to you that it is trustworthy in ways that will blow your mind, that will literally blow your mind. If you've never heard me talk about my spider story, you can watch it. I did a YouTube video on what spiders taught me about trust. You can check out my YouTube channel and watch that video. That was a transformative experience for me with one of my greatest fears, which was spiders at the time, that showed me the miraculous power and the transformative power of trust. So go check that out. But trust is number two. The third aspect of loving myself that I want to dive deeper into this year is expressing my true self, like being my true self in my life. Now, as a kid who grew up in an environment where being my true self wasn't safe, my sexuality wasn't safe, being my intuitive psychic self wasn't safe. Being myself was a trauma for me. Like the fear of losing safety from being myself, or losing love and belonging for being myself, was a trauma that I had to really work on. It took me years and years to really work on and heal. So it still has a little residue. It's not as heavy a residue because I've done a lot of healing work on that. But there's still like it's still a little twinge of a challenge to really show up as myself everywhere, right? It's just a twin, it's just a slight little thing, and then I get past it and show up. But I want to show up even more in the new year. And one of the things I realized that I wasn't, I'm the past in 2021, I really started speaking out more about what I learned in my near-death experience. I started sharing more of some of the intuitive downloads I was getting. I started really coming out more around talking about things, especially around sex and sexuality and self-love and all those things. But there is still a whole well around that I haven't shared, that I haven't expressed. And so in 2022, I want to love myself more by expressing those things. I'm going to be sharing a lot. Like in the first week, you're going to see it's going to be like, bam. I'm going to be sharing a lot more around my near-death experience, because in the past, I was very afraid to share this because it was so different from what everybody else was talking about. And I didn't want to stand alone because I was getting attacked. You know, when you stand alone, a lot of times, if your message is very different, and especially if it goes counter to what the dominant people are saying, a lot of times that opens you up for a lot of ridicule and criticism. And I just was not ready to handle that back then. Oh, but I am now. I am good and ready to receive. I got my boundaries in place. I am not bothered by it like by any means near where I was back then. So I am going to be bringing the fullness of myself out into. Hey, sorry there. We got disconnected some kind of way. Something happened with the internet connection all of a sudden, but we are back. I was in the midst of talking about expressing my true self in 2020 and bringing out more of the lessons that I learned after my near-death experience and my healing journey that helped me heal myself and helped me transform my life into something delicious for me that feels like heaven on earth. In hopes that you can do the same from these lessons. These are universal, sacred lessons that will help you heal and help you transform your life into heaven on earth like you're intended to live. So that's my way I want to live. I want to love myself more in 2022. Is I'm going to be sharing more of my truth and bringing more of that, of my message into and into my work. I'm going to be really basing that and being more of what I have, unafraid and unashamed and unabashedly and uneditedly. So look out for that. The other thing that I am looking forward to is I am really looking forward to, so that was, oh, by the way, when we trust ourselves, we express our truth, not when we trust ourselves, when we express ourselves, that centers us in the element of freedom. And that is a vibration of love as well. So the more we express our true selves, the more free we become, and also the more happy we become, because our happiness is tied into being our true selves. It is highly correlated and highly dependent upon that. And so the more you become your true self, the happier you become and the more free you feel, which also enhances your health, because your health is directly tied into the feeling of free and free flowing energy through you, as well as happiness. So that's another reason why we want to love ourselves, because if you're especially dealing with some health issue, I would highly recommend looking at expressing the truth of yourself, leaving nothing expressed. I mean, leaving nothing suppressed, nothing hidden, nothing rejected or denied, like embracing all the aspects of you and looking at how can you express them instead of hiding and putting them in the shadows. So that's one way I'm doing that, right? And even more than I did last year. And then the next one is, which is number 4, is support, right? So support is how we feel when we support ourselves, and then we receive support from others. We both feel empowered, right? Your empowerment is in supporting yourself. And also when you receive support from others, you feel loved, you feel held, right? And those are also vibrations of love, aspects of love. Supporting yourself can look like speaking up for yourself. It can look like communicating your boundaries and honoring them. Not just communicating them, but making sure you honor them. It could look like getting help in areas that not just that you need help, but that you want help, right? Making sure you get help so that you don't feel so weighed down. You don't feel like you have so much to do. Like, take a load off, get somebody to take some of those things off of you so that you can feel lighter, you can feel more relaxed. Health support is also how you feel relaxed, by the way. You feel more at peace and at ease. Not just with trust do we feel at ease, but support is how we feel at peace and at ease as well. And so you want to look at support. That's just a few ways we can get support. But I received a lot more support last year. I asked the people in my circle for support. I asked for help more than I had ever done last year, and I received it. I hired an assistant to help me in my work, so that I didn't feel overwhelmed by having to do all the different areas of my work, checking my emails, responding to people, doing the technology, running all that thing. I hired someone to help me with that. And that greatly took a load off of my energy field, which made me feel more relaxed. And again, this is directly tied into your health. When you're not relaxed, you are stressed, and you cannot heal when you are in stress. So this is another reason why you want to love yourself more if you're dealing with a health challenge. But getting support, asking for help, like asking the people around me. I grew up as an only child, so asking for support and help was not something that came easy to me, because I usually had to do a lot on my own because my parents both worked, and they worked very long hours. And so a lot of things I had to do on my own and for myself. And I didn't have brothers and sisters to help me do my chores. I didn't have, people to do that. So I had this kind of independent, isolated type of energy growing up into my adulthood that was championed by people on the outside. Oh, he's so strong. Oh, he's so independent. But internally, I was struggling. I was overwhelmed. I was stressed out. I was exhausted. And in order for me to feel rested instead, and that exhausted and overwhelmed and stressed led me to manifesting disease, by the way. And that disease was my wake-up call that, hey, we need to back off and we need to live a different way. And the different way was, can we live more leisurely? Can we live more restfully? Can we live more in relaxation than stress? And one of the ways I've had to learn how to shift into those energies, the core of helping me do that was to get more support, like external support. So that was one thing I did that more than I had done, before, that I did in this past year. The other thing was, I spoke up about my boundaries more. I honored them more. This was something I didn't do very well as an empath and a traumatized person. We tend not to have good boundaries and not speak up for ourselves and not honor our boundaries. There's many, many reasons why we do this, which I don't have time to go into this time, but I promise I will in 2022. But I really did that. I spoke up for myself a lot more. I honored my boundaries. And as a result, my health got better, because your boundaries are part of your immune system. They are as a soul being, your boundaries are literally part of your immune system. The stronger you honor, the more you honor your boundaries, the more you speak up for yourself, the more you say no, the more you communicate what's okay and what's not okay, and you do not take people crossing your boundaries and violating your boundaries, the more empowered you feel, the more strong you feel, the more honored you feel. And this actually reflects out in the body through the immune system. So if you're having immune system issues, this is a great thing to look at where you have weak boundaries, where your boundaries are being violated, and where you're not speaking up for yourself, where you're letting people walk all over you, where you're playing small. and look at supporting yourself by speaking up for yourself, by communicating what your boundaries are and honoring and making sure people honor those boundaries, setting consequences for it. If they don't, sometimes that consequence may be disengaging from the person or disengaging from the situation. But usually, by the way, when I honor my boundaries, I can literally feel a rush of energy flow through my body. When I work with clients, I've talked about this with them a lot. Like when you, especially if you've been for years, if you've been for years with dishonored boundaries and not communicating boundaries and weak boundaries, when you start honoring your boundaries, yes, there's a lot of fear around that because you fear that you're going to lose relationships, you're going to lose belonging, people are going to react negatively to you. But once you get past that fear, you actually do what is most loving for you, what is most nourishing and supportive of you, which is to set the boundary and communicate the boundary. You'll feel a rush of energy, and that's your soul's energy coming more into the body. That's the love frequency coming more into the body. Empowerment, which is a facet of love energy. That is a part of vibration. That is a part of love frequency. You'll feel it rushing through the body. You can feel it. It's a palpable feeling. So you want to do that. You want to support yourself in ways, these are ways you support yourself. Also, getting help. Receiving help is a way you support yourself. We are not meant to do this life alone. We were not meant to do that. We are spiritual beings and we are also animal beings. And as animal beings, we are tribal beings. We are communal beings. You're supposed to be in community. You're not supposed to do this whole life experience by yourself. You're supposed to do it in tribe. There's supposed to be people that help you, And we've been so conditioned, especially in the West, to have this very independent mindset of you do everything on your own. I don't need any help. And this is why we're all so exhausted, why we have a pandemic of exhaustion. We have a pandemic, an epidemic of overwhelm and illness because of it and stress. So the way you heal that is you allow yourself to be helped. And the one way you do that, you got to ask. You got to ask for the help you want. Not just the help you need, but the help you want too. I've done that. I've been going deeper and deeper into that over the years. I've hired people to clean my house for me. I've hired people to cut my yard for me. I've hired people to cook for me. I hired somebody to cook for me. I've always wanted to have a private chef. I did that this past year. I hired somebody to cook for me, and my gosh, you guys, the level of stress that I felt bleed off of my energy field that I didn't even know was there. I didn't even know. I love to cook, but having to take care of my health, having to do all the different things I was trying to do for my work and dream up and try to figure out what my soul wanted me to communicate with you all about, what I had been through, and also have to cook and work out every day so that I'm healthy. And then I'm also reaching my body, my body changes that I wanted. And then cook as well was stress. And it may not be stress for you, but it was stress for me. And I always wanted help with that. And I was like, I don't have the money for that. And I just said, no matter what, I'm going to love myself this way. And the universe always will support you when you make a move to love yourself more, by the way. No matter what it looks like right now, if you make a step towards doing the thing that is more loving of yourself, you're going to find the universe rises up to support you. And what happened was the universe, money just came. Sometimes I'd find it in the mailbox for stuff. Like money would come to me to help me support the things that I was doing to support myself. So one of the things I did was that. And so I want to go even more into support this year. I've hired some people to help me with my business, to really help me get clear about what type of things I want to offer to you all so that I'm best serving you. And that I'm also best serving me so that I'm getting my bills paid and I'm able to financially not just support myself, but have an experience of abundance, because I can't teach you about abundance if I'm not experiencing it myself. Also, people that will help me really get my vision out in the world. I know that I have a message. I was sent back into life to share a message, and I needed some help to really how do I get this out in a bigger way? So I got some support to help me do that in the new year. Also, just I'm looking forward to other ways in which I can support myself. That is what I want to love myself more, especially in the area of support. And again, the more supported we feel, the more at ease we feel, the more relaxed we feel, the healthier we're going to be. And also, the more relaxed you are, the higher your frequency is. And you'll start to manifest easier as well. And the last thing, and I'm going to have to kind of go quickly through this because my computer just sent me a note. I guess I wasn't paying attention to my battery. My battery is about to go out. So so it doesn't cut out on us. The last thing is nourishing your joy, right? And joy is really one of the highest foods for the soul. It feeds and expands and nourishes the frequency of love, probably more than any other thing. And so how can you experience more joy? How can you feed your joy more in the new year? I know this past year, I started to do things that really pleased me, even if they didn't make me money, right? We get so inundated with messages that everything you do has to be making money. And I just wanted to do things that made me feel joy. And how can I make sure that whatever I'm doing is joyful for me? Even my workouts. I changed my fitness workouts. Like I started doing dance fitness as my cardio because, just being on the treadmill was boring to me, but dancing is really fun for me. Another thing I started to do was I started to get back into writing poetry. I was a poet for many years and I had not been writing as much, and I got really into it again. And I've been writing poetry every day. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to publish a poetry book next year. You heard it here first. I'll be sharing more about that here soon, but I am publishing a poetry book next year, a collection of my poems. So watch out for that. I'll be announcing that when that's coming and how you can look out for that soon. But next year, I really want to take a deeper dive into joy. I want to do more of what fulfills me. I want to do more working in my passions and doing my passions and doing things that are fun and pleasure. One of the things I know that my soul is asking for as far as pleasure is I want to connect more with my friends. My friends don't live where I am. And I'm feeling like a little bit of loss of connection. So I want pleasure in the form of connection with my friends. I also want more physical connection. I want to date more. I want to flirt more. I want to have sex more. There was none of that in 2021. So in 2022, we definitely want to get that going. That's definitely where I want more joy in. And also the work I'm doing, sharing more of the things that bring me joy. So that's how I'm going to be loving myself more in 2022 and, nourishing my joy, expressing my true self, getting support, trusting, and cherishing myself. So I'm looking at those aspects, and those things are going to fill me. The more I do that, the more filled I will become with love frequency, the better I will receive my dreams, my desires, and the authentic good that is meant for me, that is given to me by the universe. And the more healthy I'm going to become. I'm really looking forward to that. Even more than the foods you eat, the frequency of love is nourishment for your body. So the more you get nourished with love, the more your body begins to work better. So I'm looking forward to that as well. And that's my resolution, just to love myself more, to be kinder with myself, gentler with myself, more supportive of myself, more cherishing of myself, more prioritizing what feeds me joy and makes me feel good. So yeah, that's my resolution. That's my only resolution. Jerome's going to love himself more next year. And I highly recommend that as your resolution as well. And I hope that me sharing what that looks like for me has given you some kind of idea of what that can look like for you. Get some pen and paper out and go through that yourself. Like, how do you want to cherish yourself more? What would that look like? How do you want to trust more? What would that look like? How do you want to be yourself more? Express your true self more? What would that look like? How do you want to receive support and also receive support from yourself more? And how do you want to nourish your joy? I truly believe love is a panacea. It is the medicine for whatever ails us. And it is also the real secret. It is the key that unlocks an experience that feels like heaven on earth. But I don't just want you to take my word for it. I want you to do this practice and prove this for yourself. I hope this has helped you do that in some way. Until next time, I love you. Now go love yourself.